What's up, and welcome to the Sisterhood Corner. To the newbies, welcome. To those who've been here before, welcome back. It's on to the next letter. This one reads Sidechick Nightmare. Dear Sisterhood Corner, I'm a 39-year-old married mom of 3 beautiful girls. And to say my world has just been turned upside down is an understatement. I've been married for 15 years, and I would say my marriage has been a fairly healthy one. My husband is a businessman doing exceptionally well, thus providing a comfortable life for the girls and I. Though not employed, I do freelance work just to keep busy and make some money for my own personal fulfillment. Besides, with the amount of traveling hubby does, I would go crazy if I didn't find productive ways to occupy my time. A few months ago, I started suspecting that something could be amiss in my marriage. But since I didn't have proof, I dismissed the feeling. The thing is, though the marriage itself has been okay, we did deal with infidelity issues on his part just before we got married. Through therapy, premarital counseling, and all the other work through our church, he promised that those days were behind us. Hence my decision to agree to marry him. How I wish I had not believed him. Now, throughout our marriage, I've always known that he yearned for a baby boy, a boy child, and was willing for us to try for a 4th child in the hopes of it being a boy. Unfortunately, I had all 3 girls via cesarean and thus couldn't have a 4th child. Apart from that, I was not up to it as I was tired. I felt 3 children were enough, and I just didn't have the emotional capacity for a 4th. He seemed to understand, and for years, this wasn't an issue. Or so I thought. I recently received a call from a lady I do not know. The caller told me that her sister has just given birth to a baby boy, and my husband is the father. My husband was on a business trip when I received the call, and I wasn't going to wait for him to get back home to verify this. In the hope that this was not true, I called him and confronted him. His response shattered me. He confirmed that it was true. I was gutted. On arrival from his business trip, he added salt to the wound by reminding me that he wanted a son and I'd refused to give him one. To be honest, it's a miracle that I'm still standing. This has really cut deep. 15 years of marriage later, 3 children later, and somebody that you thought you knew comes and drops this bombshell on you. Though he says he still wants the marriage to work, as he's not in love with the side chick, I can't see how that's possible. He wants the son, but not the mother of the son. What do I do? Phew. Another heavy one. Sure. First of all, I'm really sorry that you've just discovered this. Thank you for reaching out. No, this is a heavy one. This is a heavy one. I mean, I don't think anybody ever envisions such a bombshell dropped on them at any point in their lives. I don't care who you are or what kind of person you've been wired to be, but this is a lot. I can see how this would displace a person. Now I'm gonna go through the letter, right? just to keep it brief, because I don't want to go on and repeat things. But you do say on here, well, first of all, congratulations on the fact that, though you are taken care of, you didn't just relax, you still enjoyed being productive and you've done your freelance work. So that's a good thing. So meaning that financially, you are not clueless. I always say that's always a very powerful thing for any woman, to be financially independent. It doesn't matter what you do, as long as you know how to generate a little bit of income for yourself. There's always power in that, right? Now, and also because you're a mom of three girls, I think that's a good thing for them to see you do. You being a mom who's fine, taken care of, has the husband who's the breadwinner, but at the same time, mommy's not just sitting at home and twiddling her thumbs, but she's being productive. I think that's also a good example for the girls. Now, you do say that before your marriage, you had infidelity issues, all right? And you thought the days were behind you. Now, I'm going to say something that doesn't really solve the problem, but I think it needs to be heard by everybody. As women, we are naturally wired to think that, not naturally wired, I think not all of us, by the way, a lot of women tend to make this mistake of thinking that marriage will fix certain things that happened prior. And I think we've heard of these cases a lot of times where people think a baby will fix a man, or getting married to a man will mean the real him has died, because we refer to that as the old him, right? When we were dating him, the old him has died, and now the marriage births the new him. There's no such a thing. If a man has a wandering eye, he has a wandering eye. The same applies with the woman, right? If a woman has a wandering eye and she likes the boys, she will like the boys, and she could find the most amazing man. He could marry and do everything for her. But if she has a wandering eye, it is what it is, right? So I think that when we spot such red flags, we tend to, depending on where we want to go or how we want our life to pan out, God will still give us the little nudges to say, hey, check this out, have a look at this. But because we are in that mode of, I want to get married to him, we tend to go with our emotions and how we feel and how much we love a man. And sometimes that's where we make a mistake. I'm not saying your marriage is a mistake. I'm simply saying that you should have believed it the first time you saw it. And that is the fact that just before marriage, the man had already cheated. So he had it in him. We are not saying people can change, but it's something that, you know what I mean, that had already happened. I don't know how you were supposed to handle it, but I'm just saying that alone was a red flag. That was red flag number one. Now, you get into the marriage. He does, however, express that he wants a son. You see, that was another sign that he did have a little bit of, there's something he wasn't content with, right? And in typical male fashion, they'll just say, if you say no to something, okay, just to keep the peace. But deep down, he knew having a son was important to him. And I think that's something that you should have had a conversation further about, and then decided as a couple how the son was going to come about. Because now what has happened, the son has come through via an affair. And once this child is here, whether you like it or not, whether you like to admit it to us or yourself or to God or not, if you decide to continue with the marriage, you will resent the child. I don't see how you're going to be accepting of the child. I honestly, truly don't see how that's going to happen. Very few women have that capacity. And in all honesty, I don't know how they do it. I respect them for it. But your resentment for the child has already started. The side chick has already had the kid that you wanted, but for your husband, and it didn't happen for you. She's given him the gift that you would have preferred, well, that you should have given him, right? That's how your mind is going to start playing tricks on your head. And that I promise you is not going to be good for your mental health. So I'm a firm believer in counseling, right? When it comes to such things, when you have to make a huge decision about something. And it has always given me clarity in life. Perhaps go for therapy. I mean, you might have to go for your own therapy and then couples therapy and see how you're going to work through this. You don't say whether you still love your husband or not, or you're just upset about the betrayal. From your story, I don't get much about how you truly feel. I can see that you appreciate him for giving you the thing, sort of like providing and doing the stuff, provision. That's the part I notice that you don't say anything about your love story and how much you love him and the greatness in him as a human rather than his provision. So it's kind of difficult for me to gauge in terms of the kind of marriage you've had. But I presume 15 years, of marriage, it's been a fairly good one, I'd like to presume. So weigh out those options. Realistically speaking, how has the marriage been? In light of this betrayal, because whatever we call it, it is still a betrayal. The son should have come from within the marriage. And if that wasn't given to you, there should have been ways, whether you could have sat down, talked about it, tried to adopt a son, or I don't know how this would have worked. But the bottom line is you should have spoke about it. Or even if it meant that I know some couples would have sat down, thought about somebody who's going to bring forth a son, which is never guaranteed, by the way. So I don't know really how you want to, what type of marriage you guys have. But I would say start by going for counseling, because that will help clear your mind. You'll provide you with so much clarity, because then you can take your emotions out of it. And then go for couples therapy and understand where he was coming from with all of this. But what I can tell you for free is that your marriage as you know it is over. Okay? The marriage that you knew is over. In came the side chick. And I can promise you now, the fact that she got her sister to call you, we are women, we are not, you know what I mean? You know how women operate. There's a reason she wanted you to know. There's a reason why this information didn't come from your husband, but it came from the sister of the side chick. We are women. We know how these things work. They've sat down, they've calculated it, and they decided this is how it's going to run now. So part of it not only is to make you aware, but they know exactly how it's going to sting. And chances are, they know it's a boy and you have girls. That is why they want to make sure, the heir, has arrived. They need you to know that. So listen, just do what's best for your mental health. That's all I'm going to say. Before you think of divorce and all of that other stuff, sit down in your thoughts, go for counseling if you have to, go for couples therapy if you have to, but do everything in your power before you make your final decision to see if there is a way forward. But one thing remains, that son is definitely going to be a sore point for you for the rest of your life if you do stay in the marriage. And if there's a way you can, that should be your main focus. If there's a way in which you can accept that and deal with it, then you are home free. That's just my take. Other people might, see it differently. But I really can't tell you to divorce your husband. This is marriage. This is not boyfriend or girlfriend. There's this is marriage. So in every marriage, before you dissolve a marriage, you have to do everything humanly possible to save it. Humanly possible. At the end of the day, when you get out of it, you must say, listen, I tried everything. I did everything. And it didn't work. So look at the quality of the marriage you've had in the past 15 years. That also will help you provide answers for you. Has it been good or bad? What type of man is he? All of those factors. But take your time before you arrive at a decision. Good luck. I hope you make the right decision. This is just my 2 cents. Let's hope everybody else in the comment section advises you and gives you better clarity. In fact, I hope people who've been in that situation can come through and say, listen, this is how I dealt with it. But good luck.